If you are a Sagittarius and you have been feeling like something larger is building beneath the surface of your life, you are not imagining things. The energy moving through 2026 carries a kind of weight that your sign has not experienced in a very long time. Not the weight of burden, but the weight of significance. The kind that tells you this year is not just another chapter. It is the beginning of an entirely different story. And the reason this matters is because Sagittarius does not change slowly. When your sign shifts, it shifts completely. The old falls away, the new rushes in, and everything in between gets rearranged in ways you could not have predicted. That is what this year is preparing you for. Not a small adjustment, a full expansion, a deep, unmistakable return to truth. Phase 1. The first thing 2026 may bring into sharper focus for Sagittarius is a reckoning with comfort. Not the kind of comfort that comes from peace or contentment, but the kind that comes from avoidance. The kind that keeps you in situations that no longer challenge you, relationships that no longer stretch you, routines that no longer serve you. You have been coasting in certain areas of your life and you know it. Not because you are lazy, but because stepping out of that comfort would require you to face something you have been putting off. Maybe it is a conversation. Maybe it is a decision. Maybe it is a truth about yourself that you have been softening in order to keep the peace. But 2026 is not interested in keeping the peace if peace means stagnation. This year wants movement. It wants honesty. It wants you to stop settling for the version of your life that is easy and start building the version that is real. That does not mean everything will be torn apart overnight. It means the cracks in the foundation will become impossible to ignore. And rather than patching them over, you will feel a pull to tear the whole thing down and start from something solid. That pull is not destruction. It is preparation. It is your spirit making room for what is coming next. And what is coming next requires a foundation built on truth, not habit. Phase 2. The second phase of this expansion has to do with the way you communicate. Sagittarius has always been known for speaking freely, for saying what others are thinking but will not say out loud. But 2026 may push you beyond mere honesty and into a deeper kind of expression. One that is not about being blunt or bold, but about being precise. You will begin to notice that the way you speak carries more weight than it used to. Words that once rolled off your tongue without much thought will start to land differently, both for you and for the people around you. This is not about being careful. It is about being conscious. There is a difference. Careful means holding back out of fear. Conscious means choosing your words because you understand their power. And this year, that power is amplified for your sign. You may find yourself drawn to writing, to teaching, to sharing ideas in ways that feel more structured, more intentional. Not because the universe is asking you to be someone you are not, but because it is asking you to refine who you already are. Your truth has always been your greatest gift. But in 2026, that truth gets sharper. It gets clearer. And when Sagittarius speaks from a place of clarity, the effect is magnetic. People listen. Doors open. Opportunities arrive not because you chased them, but because your words created a signal that the right things could not ignore. Phase 3. The third movement in this year of expansion involves your relationship with time. Sagittarius tends to live in the future, always looking ahead, always planning the next move, always reaching for what is coming rather than resting in what is here. But 2026 may begin to shift that orientation in a way that feels both uncomfortable and deeply healing. You will start to feel the present moment pulling at you. Not in a heavy way, but in a way that asks you to slow down, to notice, to let yourself be here without already thinking about where you will be next. This is significant because for your sign, the present has always felt like a waiting room, a place you pass through on your way to somewhere else. But this year, the present becomes the destination. It becomes the place where your growth happens, where your healing takes root, where the truth of who you are is no longer something you are chasing but something you are living. This does not mean you stop dreaming. Sagittarius will always dream, but the texture of those dreams begins to change. They become less about escape and more about expansion, less about what you are running toward and more about what you are building from where you stand. And that shift from running to building, from seeking to creating, is one of the most profound transformations your sign can undergo. It does not happen all at once. It unfolds slowly, layer by layer, moment by moment. But by the end of this year, you will look back and realize that the life you have been imagining is no longer out there somewhere. It is right here. It has been right here all along. If what you're hearing feels accurate, imagine what could happen if you applied this energy intentionally for 21 consecutive days. That's exactly what the 21-day program in the pinned comment is built for. Daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you're tired of staying in the same cycle, this is your structure. Phase 4. The fourth phase touches something that Sagittarius does not always talk about openly. The need for belonging. Your sign is celebrated for its independence, its freedom, its ability to walk alone and thrive. And that is true. You are more self-sufficient than most. But beneath that independence, there is a longing that 2026 may finally bring to the surface. A longing for connection that goes beyond the surface. Not more people but deeper people. Not more interactions but more meaningful ones. You may find yourself pulling away from certain social circles this year, not out of anger or disappointment, but out of a growing awareness that quantity has been masking a hunger for quality. The friendships that survive this pruning will be the ones that can hold your full self. Your fire, your darkness, your contradictions, your dreams. And the ones that fall away will do so not because they were bad, but because they were built for a version of you that no longer exists. This is one of the more tender parts of the Sagittarius expansion in 2026. Because letting go of people, even when the letting go is natural, still carries a sting. But what replaces that sting is something deeper. A sense of being truly seen. A sense of being held without being contained. That is the kind of belonging your spirit has been searching for, and this year you are finally in a position to find it. Not by looking outward, but by becoming the kind of person who attracts it naturally. Phase 5. The fifth dimension of this year's shift for Sagittarius has to do with the way you handle money, resources, and material security. This is not typically the most exciting topic for your sign, because Sagittarius tends to live on faith. You trust that things will work out. You believe in abundance. And most of the time, that faith carries you further than any budget ever could. But 2026 asks you to pair that faith with structure. Not because your faith is wrong, but because the next level of your expansion requires a foundation that can hold the weight of what you are building. You may feel called to revisit your relationship with savings, with spending, with the way you value your own time and energy in financial terms. This is not about becoming rigid or fearful. It is about honoring the practical side of your vision. Every great dream needs a vessel. Every fire needs a hearth. And this year, building that hearth becomes part of the journey. You might also notice opportunities arriving in unexpected forms. Not the big dramatic windfalls your sign secretly hopes for, but steady, reliable streams that grow over time. The key is not to dismiss these because they lack excitement. The key is to recognize that slow, consistent growth is sometimes the most powerful kind. And for Sagittarius, learning to appreciate the slow burn after a lifetime of chasing the spark is a form of mastery that very few achieve. Phase 6. The sixth phase of 2026 brings Sagittarius into a deeper relationship with solitude. Not loneliness, which is a wound, but solitude, which is a practice. Your sign is naturally social, naturally outward-facing, naturally drawn to the world and all its stimulation. But this year, you may begin to discover that the most important conversations are the ones you have with yourself. There will be periods where you feel pulled away from the noise. Not because something is wrong, but because something is right. Because the inner work you need to do requires quiet. Because the insights trying to reach you cannot compete with a busy schedule and a crowded calendar. When these periods come, do not resist them. Do not mistake them for withdrawal or depression. They are invitations. They are the universe creating space for you to listen to the one voice you have been drowning out for years. Your own. In that solitude, you may discover things about yourself that surprise you. Desires you did not know you had. Wounds you thought were healed. Strengths you never fully claimed. And all of it, every single piece, is fuel for the expansion that 2026 is offering you. Solitude is not the opposite of connection for your sign. It is the prerequisite for it. When you know yourself deeply, when you have sat with your own silence long enough to understand what lives there, you bring a different energy to every relationship, every project, every room you enter. You bring presence. You bring wholeness. You bring the kind of quiet power that does not need to announce itself because it is already felt by everyone around you. Some people watch. Others transform. If you want to be in the second group, the 21-day guide in the pinned comment gives you a clear step-by-step process aligned with your sign. This isn't about waiting. It's about moving. Phase 7. The 7th movement in this year of truth for Sagittarius is perhaps the most personal. It is about the relationship you have with your own body, not in terms of appearance or fitness goals, but in terms of how you inhabit your physical self. Sagittarius often lives so much in the mind, in ideas and philosophies and visions, that the body becomes secondary. Something to be managed rather than honored. Something to push through rather than listen to. But 2026 may begin to shift that relationship in ways you did not expect. You may feel your body asking for different things. Different food, different movement, different rhythms of rest and activity. And the invitation is to listen. Not to override those signals with willpower or habit, but to follow them with curiosity. Because your body is not separate from your spirit. It is the vessel through which your expansion takes physical form. And when that vessel is cared for, when it is respected, when it is treated as a partner rather than a tool, the growth you experience this year will not just be mental or emotional. It will be felt in your bones, in your breath, in the way you move through the world with a kind of groundedness that Sagittarius rarely allows itself to fully experience. Phase 8. The 8th and final phase of this expansion is about legacy. Not in the grand, dramatic sense of the word, but in the quiet, daily sense. What are you leaving behind with every interaction, every choice, every moment of presence or absence? Sagittarius has always thought big. Your sign dreams on a scale that most cannot comprehend. But 2026 asks you to think small. Not because your dreams are too large, but because legacy is built in the details. It is built in the way you show up for the people who need you. In the consistency of your effort, not just the intensity of your inspiration. In the quiet moments where no one is watching and you still choose to do the right thing. This year, you have the opportunity to begin building something that outlasts your own timeline. Not through force or ambition alone, but through alignment. Through living in a way that is so deeply true to who you are that it creates ripples you may never see, but that others will feel for generations. That is the real expansion of 2026 for Sagittarius. Not louder but deeper. Not faster but truer. Not more but enough. Enough honesty. Enough courage. Enough trust in the process to let it unfold at its own pace while you do the one thing that matters most. Show up fully as yourself. Everything you have just heard is not a prediction. It is a reflection of the energy that is already in motion around you, through you, because of you. 2026 is not something that happens to Sagittarius. It is something that happens through Sagittarius. And the only thing standing between where you are now and where this year wants to take you is your willingness to say yes. Yes to the discomfort. Yes to the truth. Yes to the version of yourself that has been waiting patiently beneath the surface, ready to emerge the moment you stop holding it back. This is your year to expand. Not in the way the world defines expansion, but in the way your soul defines it. Deeper roots, wider vision, steadier flame, and a truth so clear, so undeniable, that everything around you begins to reorganize itself in response. That is what 2026 holds for Sagittarius. And it starts now. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Now. You have two options after this video. Close it and hope things shift. Or decide that the next 21 days will be different. If you choose the second, the structured 21-day transformation aligned with your sign is waiting in the pinned comment. The energy is already moving, the only question is whether you are.